I find new love every day.
What am I doing here?
I search and I wonder, wondering if I should bother.
I'm nervous, but with purpose. Yet emerge on the surface.
Until I find new love to open another chapter in search of a new charter.
Don't interject it. I'm telling testimonies, attesting while testifying. You gon' think I'm a reverend.
If I make it big enough, will I never have to face the details that when addressed?
Life is full of varying. That's the first of very scary things.
My friends, welcome back to the Smokey Mirror Podcast, where we dive deep into the creative minds that are shaping our culture and inspiring us all. My name is Jordan Jones. I'm your host and fellow creator, and I'm on a mission to spread knowledge and inspiration to help people like you leave your mark on the world. From artists to musicians to entrepreneurs and more, join me as we explore the intentional act of creation and the forces that drive us to do God's work. As always, if you want to support the podcast, please visit our sponsors, Earth Saliva, Scut.shop, and be sure to like, share, comment, follow, subscribe, all that. Today, I'm really excited for this episode. I have my boy Lex, aka Lex IndieFlix. We're talking about his brand new project called Cine Poetry, which has been, I would say, critically acclaimed positively and been making a splash in the indie films industry. So I'm really excited to talk to him. Lex, thanks for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it. My name's Lex Lowry. I'm an independent filmmaker. And this project, to really go into the genesis of it, I would say I got exposed to this spot called, Speak Fridays way back when. I think it was like back in 2017. I actually took an ex of mine when we first started dating. Mm-hmm. And when I got there, pretty much it was a whole scene, you feel me? Like it was down over in Wynwood. Mm-hmm. I would say, where Shots used to be.
Yeah.
So there's like a little venue that's like two walks down from it. But the venues would change. So once I got a chance to go there, it's a dope spot, man. Hopefully they bring it back. I don't know if they're still doing it since like the pandemic.
Right.
So I got a good chance to experience that. And before I even continue with the story, I want to shout out to Carla Hill, who had referred me to it, because I was actually looking for some spots prior to me getting with my ex at that time.
And who's Carla Hill?
Carla Hill, she used to work at the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center, which is where I used to work during the time when I was in school at Miami-Dade College for the SEDT program. Mm-hmm. And she was the community outreach, educational outreach.
Nice.
And so, her role was to pretty much, whatever shows that we had over at the theater, she would make sure that there was an education component to it, to where, let's say, if you had dancers, or if you had people who were actors or plays, stuff like that, they made sure that they made time to donate their time to teach anybody who's interested in getting into that genre of performance, whether it's in theater, whether it's in interpretive dance, whether it's in because we have musical events as well, so people are into music. So she had referred to me I'm drawing a blank. She had referred me to Speak Fridays, and so when I went there, I'd already liked it, like in first, because they set up a whole music before and after, and then just the poetry itself. There were a couple of people. I'm trying to remember this dude. He's an Asian poet. I think he did there was another show that he did. He used to be on when HBO had, when HBO had Def Comedy Jam, mm-hmm. and then they started, I think there was another like sub show that expanded to that where it became like more so competition. I wish I remembered his name, but he was one of the folks that was there at the venue for Speak Fridays. And from there, as I was watching like each poet, and sidebar, they would give folks chances, like if you had like a poem written out, if you were a poet yourself or someone who just, liked, writing poetry in general, you got a chance to freely come up and,
Sure.
perform your piece.
Cool.
So that's what I like to buy. And from there, that's where like I started thinking, because I'm getting a real feel for, at least how they inflect on their verses and how, they make a connection with the audience. It's something relatable, if, just to put it shortly. So from there, I started thinking about, what if you can turn this into, something that could be in motion pictures. But I didn't really have teeth into it. I would say...
What year was this, like when the Speak Fridays?
Like around 2017.
Oh, okay. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man. So, but I really didn't have, like I said, I didn't have teeth in it at first because at that time I was already doing a documentary. It was titled Florida Strange Fruit. And it pretty much covered, it pretty much covered Florida's African history. So, but what's interesting about that, when I entered that documentary into the Urban Film Festival from last year, that's where my producer Ryan Bahari, who's helped me not only with this project with Cinepoetry, but helped me out with Florida Strange Fruit. So he linked me up with Deuce James, who you interviewed.
Yep.
And he mentioned to me about Poetry Potluck. And from there, I went, and once I got into that scene, it was very, how can I put it? Like, you can feel like it's very wholesome, and it's very, community-based, and, there's a fellowship, there's a bond, and that's why I first liked about the space when I got there. And to be honest with you, I would say that was probably the most impactful experience that got me to really catapult. Okay, I can see where I can take this vision and put it in the direction that's gonna really attract folks who just simply like, slam poetry.
Talking about the potluck?
Yeah.
Yeah, the potluck's amazing. I think who is, I know like Black Men Build, people go there, but is it like, is Calvin the one like leading that?
Yeah, Calvin. Yeah, shout out to Calvin. Shout out to Calvin early because, there was how can I put it? So during that time at the potluck, I was just trying to just get a feel for the area, feel for the scene, and from there, later on as the night went on, I got a chance to link up with Calvin and tell him about the idea I had, and just to see if he wanted to be part of it in terms of being, the talent. But understanding his case, because, he's very busy, so I understand it. So, but he was more than willing enough to try to find some way to coordinate for us to, screen it once we've got it
Once you
locked.
finished it,
Yeah. So I would say right after that, I started reaching out. Aside from Deuce James, because he was already down, from there I met Mari, who was the DJ there, and one of his poems that I saw that would really move me, because he and I had already got into a conversation before he started to perform, so I already felt a good vibe, and luckily enough, and I'm grateful for this too, Mari, shout out to you, man. Like, I can say for his poem, when we screened it over at the Orlando Urban Film Festival, people felt really impacted by that. Because what's good about the project is that you get two different stories, and as well as Deuce James, like his, because I really want to try to go into the process of it. So what I do with Cinepoetry, or what I want to do for it, going forward, is obviously, I try to have a theme. We wanted to make it theme-based. So from there, I gave him the theme. My first idea was for it to be describing your first time. And
First time, just anything?
Yeah, it's open-ended. So I want to leave room for creativity. So it could be your first time riding a bike. It could be your first time, seeing a sports game. First time whether you had a girlfriend, boyfriend. First time, let's say if you went on a roller coaster, whatever it is. Open. It's very simple, but at the same time open to interpretation.
Sure.
So from there, I told them to try to give me at least 3 samples, whether it's something that they already have or something that they want to just go ahead and vomit draft. So we communicated from there. I gave them some time and we read through it. And the reason why I do this is because I know heading into the future, I want to make sure that whatever topic that we pick and whatever subject that they choose, they don't sound the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not like the same.
Too similar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, if you want to talk about your first time getting a pet, and I talk about my first time getting a pet, but there's 2 different animals. You get what I mean? And how we describe our words within our poem. If it's kind of like describing the same process, I don't want those things to cross over.
Yeah.
So from there, we had to weed it out, and sure enough, we got into 2, I think, of the best outcomes for Deuce James. His was about, just thoughts about suicide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, in our community, it's a big deal. And one of the things that I try to do, because, how can I put this? One of the things I try to do, I don't want to ever have to have like a sad ending, at least in this case. I wanted to see like a overcome, I try to overturn, you get me, to realize that, I love myself enough that I won't do this to myself.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when he read it to me, like I already was locked into it. He had some other pieces that were good, so it actually made it very difficult
To pick
as well
one? Yeah.
to pick. And in the case for Mari, he was actually in the studio writing some music, and he so happened to have First Fear, which is actually a single of his that he's done. So it works out. So and that's one of the things that I really, there's so many avenues that you can go with this. That's what I like about it. It's not limited, and to me, this project can stand the test of time. And it could be something that can really impact the community, as far as being, if you're an avid a person who's into spoken word, someone who's into any literary art form, which is, to me, it's not to say that there aren't spots for it, but how far mainstream is it?
How would you describe, like, for someone who's never seen it, how would you describe it? Just Cinepoetry.
Cinepoetry? Well, when people get a chance to see the project, I actually have the preview.
I'm gonna put a preview before this.
Dope.
So they're gonna see like a 30-second clip.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Because I think, matter of fact, if we get a chance, because I sent you the full video, the full episode. And so our goal for this project, we were trying to create episode 2. Eventually, we want to make it into a 6-episode miniseries. And I want to be able to have, again, we wanted to make it theme-based, so I already have other topics lined up. It's just right now getting the funds to put it all together, and really a chance for me to make some touches that I'd like to make that's going to really make it pop.
Yeah. The way I described it to people was like, it's like poetry with the music video, to like really simplify it down.
That's interesting.
Because it's like you get the spoken word where it's like they'll have the poet, like the black background, but then you also get the visuals of what they're talking about. And I like how you pick certain parts to really emphasize, like especially the part where Deuce James was talking about suicide, like having the gun in his mouth. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And I think like that part, how it like pauses, like it pauses the poem, and I think you really get to like just be with that moment, and it does resonate, and it gets back to him like, you know, going through it, overcoming it, and I do love how the storytelling is like accented with the visuals that you give, because you get the poetry, but the visuals you give are nice.
Yeah, because when we had to, and there's the thing that I wanted to touch upon, because once I get those, once I get the final draft of their poems, what we do is, you know, I then create a script for it. So once I write that down, I send them a draft, because I really wanted to, you know, I want to bounce ideas with the person who wrote the piece to see like if it best represents what, you know, they're talking about. You know what I mean? Of course, they give me full range to, you know, do whatever I creatively think is gonna benefit. But, you know, to me, I think what makes, you know, a good work is when, you know, when we're really collabing and we're seeing things on the same page. So, and then here's the second part to it. Sometimes whatever I initially have, once it gets to the stage of production, there's chances for, you know, for changes to be made. There's a couple of scenes that I had to cut out from both Mari's and Deuce's. So just due to location, you get me? You know, some parts we were able to get lucky enough to where, you know, when we asked the person, whoever owned the property, it's like, hey, we're only going to shoot this for about 30 minutes or so. And lucky enough, you know, they were accommodating to us. What we want to try to, for the next episode, is to, you know, have everything secure so that way on the day of, we don't have to think about it or worry about it.
Right, it's already set up.
Instead of trying to go guerrilla style.
Yeah. I definitely want to get more into that in a second, but I'm curious just kind of the overall purpose of Cinepoetry. Are you really trying to be able to highlight the poets, give them a way to express? Like,
of course, man. That's, you know, that's the other thing too. I really want to, you know, give them a chance to shine, because, you know, at the end of the day, because you have people, you know, Calvin being the first on my mind. I'm pretty sure there's many more. I think this person named Salam. Salam the poem.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast. I love Salam.
Dope. Yeah, and he's one of the people that I reached out to as well to do the second episode.
Yeah. Is it confirmed? The second? Is he doing it?
Not just yet. I'm just waiting on some work to come back.
Sure.
And now I'm touching base with Static Frass, who he and Mari are what they call the 4-4, which, you know, to me, like, I like their style, man. And of course, they emulate Earth Gang, which I like Earth Gang as well. But they have it's like their own little accent that, you know, that separates it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, and, you know, they're fans of them, and they actually kind of went over to New York for an event when they were going over at the potluck over in August. So, you know, and they're coming a long way. So it really is a groundbreaking opportunity for, you know, for poets, aspiring poets, you know, to really get exposure, because you never know where your opportunities can lead you. And that's what I think I like most about doing this, you know, in regards to film production. Like, if I'm helping somebody, you know, try to get their foot to the next door. Like, I remember a time where before I started really doing my own projects, I would, you know, edit little videos and stuff like that. I helped this dude who went to my high school. His name was Derek. He was a Tumblr, and, you know, he was struggling to find some jobs. But what I did for him was, I mean, he would coach over at Top Gun, I think,
sure,
which is a tumbling spot where, you know, he would coach kids that were in that program. And so from there, he asked me if I could, you know, do a reel for him or shoot some stuff for him of him doing his tumbling. And so, sure enough, right after I did that, he was able to get a job over in North Carolina. And he worked for this company that does like pirate shows. So what they do is they do a lot of acrobatics, and they flip and they dive in the water.
Cool.
So he was able to get that job, man.
Thanks to you with the reel, huh?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Mostly, I would say it's all his performance. Me, I'm just capturing it.
Right.
You feel me? So,
but I mean, the marketing, that's really helpful, because it's one thing to be able to do it, but then be able to present it out there so people can find you.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
man. And that's the thing. That's what we can use this for. really put folks on the map, really put, people who, we have a community where, there's always, the starving artists, I mean? There's
Yep.
always, to try to find a way to, get their foot into the next door and, elevate from there. Not only do I want this project to be, Cine Poetry to be a timeless piece that anybody can enjoy and that anybody can watch just to relate to it, but for those who, really have a talent for it, it's their moment to shine. It's their moment to really show, what it is that they're passionate about and how well that they do it.
I love that. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to do with the podcast. So I think it's beautiful. Definitely keep it up. I want to learn about like how did you get it submitted to like Orlando Film Festival? Like what's the process like to submit? And then tell me about like how it went, the judging and everything.
Okay, cool. So what we do, there's a website called Film Freeway. And that's where you can upload whatever projects you have, whether it's a documentary, whether it's considered new media, which is a web series, or whether you already have a short film, a feature, anything that you have film-wise or within that sphere, you can submit your work. And of course, there are certain fees that you'll have to, certain fees that you pay depending on the deadline. Mm-hmm. The later the deadline, the more expensive it'll get.
Sure.
So we try to be either on time or at least early. I know for a couple of ones that, as you're scrolling through, you see that you either missed a deadline or there's one coming up close. For these two, for the Orlando Urban Film Festival and the Urban Film Festival, I was able to get the Orlando Film Festival on the late deadline, but lucky enough, it was good enough for them to to select it. 'Cause that was my concern. For the Urban Film Festival down here in Miami. I had submitted it early. Mm-hmm. So all I had to do was just wait all I had to do was wait for getting acceptance from the Orlando Film Festival. Prior to that, though, I want to mention that I entered it into the Juneteenth Film Festival, Arts and Film Festival, sorry. And we didn't get selected, but we did get an honorable mention. But from there, I would say, because in comparison from my last project for my short documentary, I kept submitting it and I wasn't getting much of a response until I got accepted to the Urban Film Festival. So to me, this is just a step up from last
progression.
year.
Yeah, I love to see that progression.
Yeah, man, and that's all it is, man. It's all about progression. So once and the festivals were dope, man. I would say. It was a real good chance to network and a real good chance. And I think, if you're a filmmaker, it's not only, getting the chance to get your film screened, you have a chance to not only network with folks, but also see other folks' projects, and you can get ideas from there and see how well, whether it's in terms of shot, whether in terms of dialogue, or let's say for sound, or let's say for, trying to get talent, there's, it's pretty much, it's like a fun resource center.
Sure.
You get me? And you get to pick brains, you get to fellowship, and you'll even have folks there. There was a person named by Lionel C. Martin, who is, he's a known music video director. Mm-hmm. I think he directed one of Biggie's music video. I can't remember which single. But, they have, panel sessions for Q&A. And, everyone else had their question. What I had was specific in terms of shot list. Because, I've done a music video for an artist, shout out to Lord Bug. His concept was, how can I put this, man? Sorry if I'm stumbling, man.
No problem.
But what we did was we did a treatment for him. And as we did the treatment, of course, I reviewed back with them to see is this something that you see? Is it something that, you feel that coincides with your song? So what I asked to Lionel was like, because what I experienced was a bunch of changes on set on the day of, and being able to adjust, because I already had, the treatment laid out, the shot list laid out. So my question to him was, do you already have your shot list, laid out, and then how do you deal with the adjustments going forward? When, let's say, you don't get the location that you want, or let's say, you have talent running behind, other particulars. Fortunately, I didn't have to experience that.
Yeah.
Experience in terms of, anybody coming late, anybody, but it's just, how can I put it? There's a lot of last minute changes that come with it.
But what did he say? What was his answer?
His answer was that what he usually does, he already has things mapped out, but usually on the day of, if he sees something that he wants to add, he'll communicate with his DP, and they'll change it. And that's the thing.
And what's DP?
DP is director of photography. That's the acronym for it. And so he gave me just tips as to, what is it that, try to see if we can both be in line and communicate, what is it that I want and what is it that can be done. And one of the things that he stressed the most was, since you're pretty much driving the pilot as to how it's going to look, how the end result is going to be, whatever your intention is, there's no excuse as to why you can't make it happen. You know what I mean? Of course, you'll have your director of photography tell you what's possible and what's not possible. And of course, whatever they say that isn't possible, you try to see, okay, if this shot is important, if this is what it is that, is needed to really give it the oomph that the project needs, let's see what other, ways we can troubleshoot. And so it was a dope experience of him just, sharing that knowledge with me. And, I recommend it to anybody that get a chance, that when your film festivals have a panel, that's your time to, ask questions and trying to gain more knowledge so that you can add more tools to your repertoire.
What's some good, or what was the praise that you got about the film, and then what was some feedback that you got?
That's the thing, man. You had folks that, how can I put this? You have folks who were I would say this. What I noticed when, I was sitting in the room, certain settings are very important. And everything in the theater, has to match in terms of, the tone, the setting. And one of the things I noticed a couple of times while I was there, and I'm not, how can I put this? If I were to critique something, I guess it would be just, the timing.
Of when they played it?
Of when they play it. Because I understand that, they're trying to get things on the schedule. And, sometimes there's a moment for where they have stuff scheduled to, how can I put this, man?
So are they like playing all the movies? Like, all right, here goes Lex's film, and here's Jordan's film. Is it like back to back like that? Or?
Mine was the first in the morning. It was on
first
Saturday,
in the morning. Oh, okay.
Saturday.
Yeah. And what time was that? Like 8 a.m.
No. It was like 11.
Okay, that's not.
But
too
we
bad.
we still had a good turnout.
Yeah. But it could have been better if it was a little bit later.
To me,
sure.
To me personally, but I gotta express that I'm more than fortunate that it got a chance to play, because that's like one of my my biggest concerns. Of course, the people who are in the project, they like it, and I really do feel that this project really does have a potential to go far. Like, and that's one of the things that what's his name, Timothy Stark mentioned. So I don't put it on them; I put it on myself. because since that was the one that I submitted late, it plays a role. It plays a role.
Sure.
So, and I have to consider the fact from what they were expressing to us as filmmakers. You know, if you want to increase your chances, you know, submit it early. And because they're reviewing like 64 hours of film.
That's a lot.
You get me?
That's a lot of
They're
film.
reviewing 60, and you know, to be able to sit down and look at these and really judge it, and you know, try to give it the, you know, their best opinion on it when they put their votes in. It's very important. So you know, I can only be thankful and grateful at the fact that it got screened. You know,
Sure.
as long as people got a chance to see it, because I'd say about like 30.
Oh, pause right there. I'm about to restart that camera.
Gotcha.
So I'm still curious about like what was some of the praise that you got and some of the criticism or feedback that you got about the film, and maybe not just from like the judges, but just from people in general.
For those that got a chance to see it after they were done screening it, I got a good applause, man. Even though it was a small crowd of 30, of course, when you hear them, it sounds big to you.
Right.
You get me? Because there was like what you call it. Let me not get on a tangent, but I got good feedback, and then I was able to link up with this person named Braden Jenkins. From what he told me, he liked it, and he's a director himself, and he also DPs as well.
Okay.
So it was good to hear that feedback. And here's the thing that I want to include, because sometimes, because they had, you got to give props to the Orlando Urban Film Festival to, you know, being able to, you know, make the slots where they need to, because there are some that I couldn't even tend to see that I wanted to see due to timing, but, you know, I had to consider, you know, going there, paying for parking, making sure I'm not overstepping the parking so that way I don't get a ticket.
Right.
And at the same time, so I had to be mindful. So I had to be mindful in terms of which ones that I was going to commit to see and how long I should stay. I mean, because of course you want to be able to use that time to network. And sometimes that I did. Actually, I would say I got a chance to be interviewed about the project.
Cool.
Because I guess from the interviewer, he didn't give me his name, but from there, he, you know, as he was asking me, you know, same things that you were asking me, you know, how did it start? You know, what's the project about? It was, you know, he was kind of intrigued as to how, you know, those, I guess, to make that combination of, you know, something that are two totally different, separate, you know, genres. But to me, you know, they're both art.
Yeah.
You know, they both serve a purpose, and it's kind of like how, I guess, my aim was to see how those things can complement each other. And luckily, at least, you know, from what I received, the feedback I received, it was, you know, it was something unique. It was something different. It's something that stood out. So, you know, I'm more than grateful. Like I said, I'm always grateful when it has a chance to get screened. And fortunate enough, it got nominated for 2 categories in the Orlando Urban Film Festival. It got nominated for Best Web Series, and it got nominated for Best Social Impact.
Dope.
So
Congrats on that.
Yeah, so nominations is just another thing as well, man. If you get it screened on top of it getting it nominated, it's
big.
yeah, man. And hopefully, you know, again, like I'm seeing like a progression. So hopefully the next step, you know, for when we get a chance to do episode 2, what I really would like for us to do, if we can exceed that goal. So just a time for me to just plug this in. It's very important. So we started a Indiegogo campaign.
Indiegogo.
Yes.
And what is that?
And Indiegogo is pretty much a platform for where whatever it is that you're pitching, it doesn't even have to be art or film, but you know, most of the time, I know a couple of my friends who are in, you know, the industry, they've They created their Indiegogo campaign pages. One of them was one of my classmates, John Quartas. It was Horse and the Stag, which it got into Popcorn Frights Festival. And, he's a dope director, man. Cool dude. And, yeah, man, it's you get to, it's a crowdfunding platform.
Okay.
So when whatever project that you're trying to pitch, you can even pitch like inventions that you have. Like, let's say if you were to invent like a new mic or something like that, or like, let's say you have a new concept for a different type of drone.
So it's almost like GoFundMe for creators. Almost.
Yeah, almost like that.
That's cool.
I would say that. But yeah, so our goal for Cinepoetry, we want to reach $17,000. That's our budget goal that we want to do to create for episode 2. If we exceed that, I would like for us. If we exceed that amount, I would like for us to try and at least create episode 3, so that way we could be eligible to submit it into other festivals, such as, at least my goal would be the American Black Film Festival, because there's some where if they have a category that is web series or anything that deals with television episodes, they require at least a 3-episode minimum, and it can't exceed a certain time period, like a time limit.
Oh, like you got to get them done. I see.
Exactly. So it has to be, let's say each episode, let's say if I were to do like a regular, TV series, let's say something for HBO or Stars, for example, and they're about 30 minutes. I have to make sure that they all don't exceed an hour or hour and a half. For some, if yours is like a shorter version, in my case, it can't exceed 30 minutes.
Got it.
So anything that's short form, anything that's longer form in terms of episodic, each festival has their own different requirements.
Okay. And so what's the plan to raise that money? Like, how does it, like, are you going to investors? Are you like have a marketing campaign?
Well, man, I want to take it to the people.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of crowdfunding, man. You want to, if people see the work, and that's one of the things as to why, I wanted to at least get this first episode done, so that way people can see the vision. They can see what can be done. They can see what's possible. I already see it down the line for something that could be, that could really hit the mainstream, something that people can really grasp towards. Again, man, this is something that can be timeless, but this is something that can trend. So if we get the ball rolling, and and again, like every dollar counts. You get me? Of course, the minimum that we have on there that that Indiegogo allows us to do is a minimum of $2. So even if you donate that helps. That's more than enough to help. And of course, we have perks that are included in there as well. People go on to our Indiegogo campaign page. If you go on the website itself, if you already have an account, you could build one. And have your login information. And what you can do is you can type in Cinepoetry. It should pop up. It should be the first thing that you see that pops up. You'll be able to see the poster along with it, that you'll see Deuce and Mari on the cover. So it's a big giveaway that people will see. So once they click on it, they'll already have, a detailed info as to what, our intentions are for the film, the amount that we need, of course, and, as an incentive, if they donate, this is what they get.
Nice. And where can people go to donate?
Well, they would have to go, they can go actually on, on my Instagram. I have 2 pages. So they can go on my Twitter page, go follow the Cinepoetry. It's for both my Twitter and for IG.
Got it. The Cinepoetry.
Yeah, the link should be in each of the bios. And if they want, they could go on, anybody who's following me, you could go on to my page. My IG page is Lex Indie Flicks, and the link should be in the description below.
Dope. And then to see Cinepoetry episode 1, where can they go?
To see it, if they wanna, cause we don't want to release it just yet. But what they can do, I'm working with Calvin to see, not for this potluck, but for the next potluck, get a chance to screen it, because that was something that we wanted to do initially. But
things happened.
Yeah, things happened. Rest in peace to Danny, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. During that time, I would say, things happen for a reason, and quite funny enough, one of Calvin's poems, spoke to that. And I remember at that time, like, we were having everything in place, and then just suddenly, that happened, which, you can't, that's something you can't control. Like, everyone is grieving, and even I'm seeing how much Danny was, an impact to everybody, especially with Black Men Build, and to how much he touched people, how much he impacted folks. And so it kind of put me in a position to where, this is the time to, reflect. This is the time to, okay, things happen for a reason, and I can't. And to be honest, I want to be fully transparent. I had a moment of a moment of not disappointment, but of selfishness, which I'm disgusted by, because I guess it's like an ego part where you're working to build up to that point to get a chance for people to see it, because it kind of felt, I'm trying to find the best way to describe it, but I kind of just felt like things move, like, just the timing of it. But again, man, it's things that you can't control. But I can only be more than grateful as to, just being considered to, have the opportunity. And of course, new opportunities open.
Yeah.
So it was a lesson. It was a lesson for me to, like, hey, man, just, this was, a better opportunity is being created for you, whether you see it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate you for admitting that, because I think that's really real. You work on a project for a long time. You put your heart and soul into it. You have a day when you're going to show it, and then, it gets derailed. You have to postpone it. That can definitely, that's going to affect you as a creator and somebody who's taking pride in what you're doing. Like, how long did it take you to make it? From like, y'all started shooting it to, all right, now we can show it.
All right. There was a lot of prep, because it's just me finding a perfect spot to shoot the black box scenes,
right?
Which I'm pretty sure from when people watch the preview, I'm pretty sure people who follow me on Instagram that's seen the previews of how it looked like. I wanted there to be nothing but all black, have their wardrobe be all black, and it was trying to find spots that were available. And luckily enough, there was a spot over. There was a dance studio up in North Miami that I was able to find. And their rates were pretty fair, yo. So I called them, linked them up. They gave me the rate, and then I was able to lock that in. So we had a full day to work with Mari and Deuce to, And here's the thing that I want folks to, as we move forward, if we get a chance to not only make our goal and exceed our goal, it was a good thing for me to learn as to being able to get them centered and focused, because there's a big difference as opposed to being on camera and on stage. You know what I mean? Because we shut down all the lights within the black box, so that way our DP can get it to where how I envisioned it.
Yeah.
So. Oh, and shout out to Kevin Fuerte, dopest DP, man. If you need any work from him, go follow him at K Fuerte. That's his Instagram page. But yeah, man, it's a whole different setting, and sometimes you have to recenter them back. What I usually try to do is just go through it. Whatever mistakes that you do have, we'll do it on the next take. And I would say, it was a bit rocky, but they were able to pull through, and that's what I liked about them, because they prep for this moment. They however many times they rehearse for this their work. This is I'm proud of it, and I know they're proud of it, and I'm pretty sure when people get a chance to see it screened, at least people who whether it be at the Poetry Potluck or whether it be at another venue that's, you know, poetry related, I think this is a project that, again, is going to stand the test of time. It's going to be something that everybody, there's no limit to it. I truly do believe that, because, you know, there's a lot of range of topics that can be brought up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Unlimited.
Exactly. And, you know, whether it could be political, whether it can be, you know, whether you're addressing mental health, whether you're, you know, addressing something that's going on in your community, whether it be the Black community or whichever, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, there's so much room for it. And, you know, we want to take it further. And again, I'm going to take it to the people and see, like, hey, if you like it, you know, you should invest in it. And again, there is incentives for, you know, when you donate. So, and all that's going to be on the Indiegogo campaign page when they go on.
So I know people can see it in person, or like the Poetry Potluck, but what if I'm in, you know, New York and I want to see it, and then I want to donate, but will I be able to watch it online eventually, or what?
If anything, people can always hit me up through my Instagram, or hit up through our Instagram page for people who want to see the film. I'll send an unlisted link. The reason why I have it unlisted, because we still want to try to enter it into festivals.
Got it. Okay.
And so there's certain regulations to where if you have it screened and put public, there's a chance that, you know, you're going to get disqualified. So I don't want to, you know, risk that, because I want to give people, you know, a chance to see it, but just within the bounds of, you know.
That makes sense. I didn't know about that, so that makes a lot of sense. All right, well, I think that's dope. I do want to transition into getting more into your background. Do you have anything else to say about Cinepoetry and all that?
Key thing, when you go onto Indiegogo, and whatever perk you select, whatever amount that it is that you're able to contribute, there is a portion on the tab for when you check out. It says other amount. It also has tips on there, because I know people, when they're going to see it, it's like, okay, it's this amount plus this extra amount here. All you have to do is press other amount. It's going to reduce that number down to 0, and so it's going to be only the amount that you intend to donate.
Got it.
Just to keep that in mind. So again, just click on the tab, click on the perk. You're going to see, when you click the drop-down menu for before you get a chance to donate, it's going to say other amount. Make sure to select other amount, so that way there's any other additional tip that gets added onto there.
Perfect. All right, you heard it here first. Go support. We got to see that more Cinepoetry. I'm excited. Man. So this was what, like your second, third project?
This would be, I got more projects, but the ones that I at least really invested in, this would be like my second.
Like big.
Second big.
Okay.
The documentary was my first big, to me at least, you know, getting into festivals.
Yeah.
In my past, I've done music videos with, like I said, Lord Bug. And then I did one prior with, shout out to Ant One. He kind of got me into, you know, getting really my feet wet as to honing in my craft. And then taking, you know, being able to be creative editing, because most of the stuff, like for most of my projects, I edit them.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to have full range of control on how I want, you know, the outlook to be.
Yeah, sure.
But I know for this one, for the next one going forward, you know, to really give it the chance that it needs for, you know, because I guess what I'm aiming to do is trying to be, you know, as much of a perfectionist as possible. You know what I mean? So as I'm learning, I'm trying to, you know, be mindful as to, you know, tweaks that we can make.
How, like, when were you, or how old were you when you were like, yeah, I want to be a filmmaker? And how'd you know?
I would say late. And when I say late,
like after high school?
Yeah, man. Like, because when I was in high school, I did theater.
Yeah.
But that was like towards the second half. I started like as a junior. But I know for me, like I always like watching movies. But I saw it more from how it would as an actor, more so a filmmaker, more so as a director. What got me into it was my first major that I had when I went to MDC, which is Miami-Dade Community College. It was sports medicine. So I went to a conventional route. But along the way, I didn't really, I wasn't really focused.
Yeah, you weren't passionate about it.
Yeah, so I later learned that they had a film program at MDC. And, I spoke with my advisor at the time, and he was even asking me, like, you sure it's something that you want to do to make this type of switch?
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah, I think.
And you were a sophomore or a junior at this time?
I would say sophomore.
Okay.
Sophomore, I made that change. Sophomore year, I made that change. And once I did, I enjoyed it ever since, man. I learned a lot of things that, it's good to know a lot of things that happen, behind camera that, that take place, and, how much of it, like, mainly it's budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That led to,
Simplify.
simplify and get the elephant out of the room, you feel
Yeah.
me? Or address the elephant in the room. It's budget. But you're honing your craft as to, okay, what do you do with no budget or limited budget, and see how well you're able to produce. You know what I mean? And if you have a project that, visually it's on point, sound is everything is on point, how you're telling the story in terms of your cuts, if someone sees it and, they see a potential in you, the first thing you got to see a potential in yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know even going through that journey, I was trying to see, now that I'm taking on this film journey, what is it that I want to do specifically? One of the things I already knew that I like to write. I already knew that I like to explore the camera a little bit. And I don't know, like I always had, probably in the back of my mind subconsciously, like an inclination to, have things a certain way. So directing, you're at that, everything is, you're responsible for it. And, there's pressure to it. And that's the thing I want to get used to, dealing with that pressure and see if, a diamond can come out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So, moving forward from there, like once I went through the program, I started doing PA gigs here and there. It wasn't as consistent.
Production assistant.
Yeah. For those who don't know, sorry. And like I say it, and then people don't like, what does this acronym mean? You feel me? I'm so immersed in it where like and that's the thing that you'll notice when you get onto certain sets, man. Like there's walkie codes that you'll learn, man. There's certain lingo that you'll pick up. Yeah. And it's like ingrained into you so much that you don't even think about it. Definitely. Until when you have to ask about it. It's just like, what's that?
Right.
You
to a layman.
So
exactly.
So yeah, man. And from there, like I use those opportunities to see how different projects are done. You know what I mean? I got fortunate enough throughout this past couple of weeks, before going into the film festivals, heading there, I got a chance to be worked on Grossinger Hotel project that I met with these. I'm trying to remember who. If anything, you can.
Yeah, the details aren't important.
Yeah, man. I wish I remember. But I've been on Real Housewives as a PA. I've been on 2 seasons. I've been on Rap Shit as an office production assistant. Which I would say was the biggest one that I worked on. Like I worked on stuff like on Revolt TV with Hanging in Rajewski.
Nice. And how are you getting these opportunities?
Usually it's, for me, word of mouth. Other avenues, people can go on to Staff Me Up. And if if you already have and you're getting your feet wet, and if you already have, some other projects, small projects that you've done, you can put them out in your resume. And what it does is, you pay a membership. You can either pay the full year or do it monthly. But it helps you, it ensures that it filter feeds all the other candidates. So if you have the most experience, they're going to look through your resume and, they'll call you for a gig.
Dope.
But more than often, you just get that phone call. You know what I mean? Especially if your work is good and you do a good job.
I recommend you for other shit.
Exactly.
That's dope. So then you was working on those ones, and then when did you had the idea to do, I guess, the documentary, and then how did you get the equipment to actually film it?
For the documentary, I pretty much used my camera, and I used shout out to Jorge, who was also working on sound for Cine Poetry. He worked as my cameraman as well.
Okay. And is it the camera that we shooting on, that Lumix?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yes, sir. We shot it in 4K. And for those who don't know about the documentary Florida's Strange Fruit, it's about Florida's African history, and we cover it from the early 16th century all the way up until Florida becomes a U.S. territory in 1821.
Wow.
And our goal for that is to make it a feature doc. So, we're going back to the drawing board in terms of looking for new interviewees. And shout out to Dr. Anthony Dixon, shout out to Dr. Denzula Gentini, and shout out to Dr. Rosalind Howard. Those were our 3 all-stars that made Florida's Strange Fruit, what it is as a short docu. And I want to take this further, man, because there's so much, because I approached that project with, because in this industry, you tend to write what you know. I went forward to try to find out, okay, what is it that I don't know? So I went the complete opposite. You know what I mean? And from there, I started digging, information. It started with an article in the Miami Herald. Trying to remember the author's name, but essentially, it was pretty much covering the topic of how, certain subjects within history books were altered, particularly McGraw-Hill. And how it reads is, someone who's a mother and also a dean of students at at Florida Memorial, if I'm not mistaken, some college within here in Florida. They have found out that they put in a world geography book that they described slaves as paid workers. Which we all know
it's obviously not true. Yeah,
exactly. So from there, it's like, that article was done in it was by Leonard Pitts. Leonard Pitts wrote that article, and that kind of sparked in my mind. It's like, what is it that the fact that they're able to do this still, at that time when I read the article in 2015, it got me to ask questions like, okay, what is it that I don't know, at least in terms of my history, as well as Florida specifically. You know what I mean? And from there, I just started excavating, and you'd be surprised how its genesis for Florida, especially for those who don't know, Florida was the first underground railroad before you had the Underground Railroad to the north.
Really?
Yeah, because the revolts that would happen over in the colonies over in Georgia, North Carolina, and so forth, they had to find it. They had to find some place to escape. So one of the places was Florida, so they escaped down here. So
work like that is really important because we have more legislation saying slaves benefited from it and all types of shit. So I think it's great having a project like that. How was it received? Like, what was it like when you put it out?
When I put it out, it was very well received, man. And I would say one of the things, I guess, a critique that I had, which was I didn't take it too much to heart, but I took it as I want to get this better, in terms of, because I guess for someone it's like people don't want to be told history of being slaves. We don't want to be seen as that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
you don't want to be seen as
right.
being slaves and so forth, which, I get that. And that's fair because we do want to try to, as filmmakers, we want to try to, at least if you're a black filmmaker as well, you do want to try to create a project for something, okay, this is where we were, now what can we show that kind of projects what we're capable of appearing as to the public in terms of our image, in terms of our likeness, in terms of, other parts of our history that people don't know, you know what I mean? And something that we're still discovering, you know what I mean? So, it's all a journey to, I take this as a blessing in terms of me being able to not only get better at my craft, but actually, learn something about my history. You know what I mean? At least that's how I approached it when I did the project.
I think that's good. Like, even if people are upset about the slavery portion, I think it's important to have that in there. It's because it's true.
It wasn't the fact that people were upset about the slavery. It's like they don't want to. It's like Hollywood has touched so much on that with certain films, like especially the iconic 12 Years a Slave, which I watched. Good movie, wonderful movie, man. It's just what I tend to notice is there's always, that cycle of this is where we started, where we know that we started way before that.
Right.
Historically.
I see. Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
Which is another part, which is something I kept
true.
in mind. So I was like, okay, that's
But at the same
understandable.
time, you're doing Florida, so it's like,
Exactly.
Yeah, but that makes sense. All right, so you said you want to get more into the feedback on the doc, right?
Yeah. The other people.
Hold on 1 second. There's like a fucking...
Oh, fly?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that was the critique feedback.
Yeah.
The positive feedback that I got when we screened it at the Spade Museum, which was one of the spots that we filmed at, it got immense applause. I was in shock. At the same time, kind of like right now a little bit nervous, man, like because I had to do a Q&A right afterwards. So, but they asked me questions and I just pretty much touched back as to, kind of like how you've been asking me, man, what is it that had me start this project, what took to make it, so on and so forth. And I didn't really get a chance to explain about I guess, what we did in terms of putting it all together, like equipment-wise and so on.
Yeah.
So first, the feedback, people liked it. People asked questions. I was able to answer most of them. And, they were grateful that, they think that this should be, there should be more, projects like this, especially specific to Florida. Because that's the thing when you're dealing with storytelling, especially here in the States. Like, you'll have people that want to shoot and come down here to Miami and do projects here. But the only thing here that I think is kind of, for the film community is tax incentives. There's no good tax incentives here in Florida. So right now it's just all, political. You know what I mean? But I was fortunate enough to, and here's what I want with this specifically in terms of how I was able to create it and how I even took this journey to, saying, okay, this is what I want to be. I want to be a director. The first thing I did was to, invest in myself. So I put money aside, considering what it is that I needed with the minimal things that I needed in order to make it look the way I needed it to. So, and if I got good feedback from that, you know what I mean? Then that only tells me, how much further I can push my limits, how much more that I can add to my craft, how much further, I can, add to my repertoire.
That's right.
So
nice.
Yeah, man.
How much was that initial investment?
Yeah. The investment I would estimate it to be like over $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took me time to save that up and set it aside. But hey, it's worth it, and
Definitely.
especially if you believe in yourself. Because to me, because I would pitch the concept to folks, and not that they couldn't see it, it's just like it's something that something that I learned that you already have to have something before, you know, people can truly invest in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They want to see something.
They want to see something first. So it's like, okay, if you guys want it to be seen, then, you know, I have to find my own means.
Yeah.
Some people can go through, you know, through government grants and get those as well. For me, I just wanted to go through that process because, you know, my goal is to have 10 successful years of directing and then right after that produce. So, you know, whether you're a line producer or executive or associate producer, so on and so forth, it gives me an idea as to, you know, budget-wise, where am I putting, you know, my money and what's the best, what's feasible, you know, because you want to be able, again, if you're able to do more with less, you know, the better your chances is getting offers or getting opportunity for people to say, hey, you know, you're capable of completing this. You know, if we give you this much, then, you know, we can only expect, you know, greater.
Even more.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I want to create something great. I want everybody to get that cinematic feel. Not that my projects don't, because I get, you know, I get good enough feedback, especially when I post post the trailers over on Instagram. And, you know, there's a bunch of views that people have more views than I expect. And I usually don't get a lot. You know, my followers is not big, but just to see, you know, a positive reaction, you know, it's something I enjoy seeing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I had a question,
Sure.
but I fucking forgot. It had to do with, oh yeah, where do you see yourself like 20 years? Like, what does it look like from maybe like work you've done, or like now what does your work evolve into 20 years from now? Like, what do you see? And wait, how old are you right now? 25?
Yeah, thank you.
27?
No,
30?
30, right, man.
Nice.
Gonna be 31, man.
Hey, you look young. You look young as fuck.
Yeah, man.
Black don't crack.
Yeah, bro. I guess so.
All right, so when you're 50, like what you gonna be a mogul? What's up?
Eventually, a mogul of some sense. I don't want to say too much, but definitely, you know, Georgia right now in terms of, you know, its film production. You know, shout out to Tyler Perry for, you know, having his own studio. You know, and that's something that, you know, we're gonna need more of. And you have Anthony Mackie, who also has, you know, his own studio.
I didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah, he started his film production company.
Shout out to him.
So, you know, we need more spaces like that so we can create more of our stories. I mean, we need more production stages. We need more studios, so that way we want to give. You know, it's pretty much giving back, especially when you're getting new filmmakers, because, you know, you're gonna have a new wave of generations that have a different way of interpreting their art, and you want to be able to give back in some way. So I want to get to a point where, you know, if I'm diligent enough, if, you know, at which I have no doubt that I will be, and I'm fully committed, you know, fully striving just to, because at the end of the day, it's to, you know, I like to help people in whatever way that I can, you know, and I feel like for this direction to lead for people to see something that, you know, whether they haven't seen before or something that they can learn from, something that, you know, they can relate to. It's a blessing in itself, and it's a responsibility. I remember saying this on thank you, on a previous podcast, Cinema Pathway, with Howard Brand. I take it as a responsibility because, you know, there's a phrase that people say, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A movie to me is, you know, can frame 1,000 perceptions, you know, because 90% of images that we take in, 90% of what we see of our senses is absorbed through imagery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and, you know, there's an impact as to, you know, as to being able to see your image on film and how you're being represented. or try to address a certain issue. You know what I mean? That will galvanize folks to to do something. To come together and really create a formidable force for something righteous.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man.
I really love what you're doing with the projects you've done so far. I feel like you have a mind that's really it's oriented on giving back and helping others, and so I definitely want to see you succeed. And I really have appreciated you coming on here and share the story. Is there anything else you want to get into before we wrap it up?
First, I appreciate you for having me. And I can only take these opportunities as a blessing, man, because it's a step forward. And I want to make sure I give a shout out again to Mari, Deuce James. You guys made this project happen. Your talent itself, helped make this project happen. Shout out to Jenny Perez, our hair and makeup. Shout out to Jorge, who worked on sound. Shout out to Kevin Fuerte, my DP, director of photography. And I feel pretty confident about this project, man. I feel this can really go a long way. I know I sound repetitive, but you got to put it out into the universe.
For real, that's real.
You got to put it out there, and I'm confident that people can see the full potential of the vision that we have with this project.
Absolutely. So if you're in South Miami, you got to come to the Poetry Potluck. What date are we airing it?
We're trying to shoot for, I'm still in the works on getting a date lock, to be honest with you.
Got it.
But I know, keep in mind, I'm going to be announcing the Indiegogo campaign for this potluck.
Oh, you haven't even announced it yet. So tomorrow you're going to announce it.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm probably going to get this out tomorrow evening as well. So
okay,
that's perfect. So if you're watching, make sure to support the Indiegogo. Link is in the Cinepoetry.
Yeah, go on our Instagram page and our Twitter page. It's called the Cinepoetry. It's going to be for those two platforms. The link is in our bio. And we'll be, of course, putting social media posts so where people can attach themselves, go and find the link. If they go on Indiegogo website themselves, all they got to do is type in Cinepoetry. It's going to pop up. And again, there's perks and incentives if you do donate. And again, whatever amount that you can give, you get me? So, and it helps, man. When those things start accumulating, you see how much of an impact it is.
Dope. All right. Well, you heard it here first. Make sure you go support Lex. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Yep. All right.